Good morning, everyone. Fellow Commissioners, Chief Choi, Acting Executive Director Django Sibley, Madam Secretary, Acting Inspector General Florence Yu, Mr. City Attorney Carlos De La Guerra, and members of the public. Today is Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. It is 9:30 a.m. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Please let the record reflect that Commissioners Shields, Calanche, and Garcia are present, and we have a quorum. Madam Vice President?
Thank you. We welcome everyone attending this morning, both in person and online. We want to ensure all members of the public can access our meetings, so if you need any translation services or accommodations, we encourage you to contact the board secretary in advance of our meetings, as explained in our written agenda. These meetings are regular meetings between the board, the department, and key stakeholders. We welcome feedback from the public during the public comment period, which will be heard during item number 2 on the agenda. Public comment is your opportunity to address the board. You can speak to any item on the agenda or any matter within the jurisdiction of the Board of Police Commissioners. We will dedicate a total of 45 minutes to public comment. As explained in the written agenda, each member of the public can have a total of up to 3 minutes to speak if you wish to speak on both agenda items and general public comment. While we welcome public attendance at our meetings, disruptive behavior will not be tolerated and will be cause for removal. You will receive just one warning, and if you continue disrupting the meeting, you will be asked to leave and be removed from the meeting. Okay, before moving on to agenda item 1, I have one correction to the agenda. Item 3B, which made a donation request by the department, has been withdrawn by the department. Therefore, item 3B is withdrawn from the agenda. At this time, we will move to item number 1 on the agenda, the report of the Chief of Police, Chief Choi.
Good morning, Vice President Shields, Commissioners, Acting Inspector General Yu, City Attorney De La Guerra, and Acting Executive Director Sibley. Today I'm going to be discussing significant events from the prior 2 weeks, providing a crime update, and discussing our personnel strength. I want to start by just saying since July 30th, there have been no categorical use of forces in the prior 2 weeks, so I'm proud of that. And then I'll start from my trip. I had the honor and opportunity to attend the 2024 Olympic Games opening ceremony in Paris. I also had the honor and opportunity to work alongside 31 of our dedicated reserve officers that volunteered to go over there and assist the French National Police in policing the Olympic Games and ensuring the safety to all those who attended the Games. During this time, our officers were paired individually with French officers. They were assigned various shifts at various locations. They conducted high visibility patrols and assisted visitors, especially English-speaking visitors, to France with any questions and needs, and it was such a great partnership. This arrangement was not only a testament to the dedication and professionalism of all law enforcement worldwide. We had law enforcement from all over the world there helping one another. But it was also an opportunity for me and our officers to observe and learn from the French how they planned and implemented their security operations. The experience, in my opinion, will be valuable, and it'll help me prepare and the city prepare for the upcoming World Cup in 2026 and the LA 28 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. I also want to comment on August 6th. Our community came out together to celebrate National Night Out. This is an event that is held on the first Tuesday of every August. It provides an opportunity for police and our neighbors to come together and connect outside of an emergency. Throughout the city, neighbors came alive with block parties, festivals, and cookouts. These gatherings were complemented by community activities such as informational seminars and public safety demonstrations by our first responders. I'm grateful for the partnership with all of our community members, our CPABs, our neighborhood watch groups, as well as the collaboration we had with our city council districts and all of the emergency personnel within the city. I'd like to personally thank all of our officers and our command officers that attended these various national night out events. These connections, they're the foundation of our strength in the city, our relationships with the community, and it's the energy that makes National Night Out a success for all of us. I'll move on to talk about an outside agency officer-involved shooting we had in West Valley area. On August 8th, an off-duty officer employed by Beverly Hills Police Department was in the area, observed an argument or a fight, one of the individuals being armed. This off-duty officer tried to intervene in this or tried to separate the parties, and an officer-involved shooting occurred. The Los Angeles Fire Department responded to the scene and pronounced the individual deceased. Our department's robbery homicide division is investigating the incident because it is a homicide within the city, but no department personnel was involved in the officer-involved shooting. I also want to talk about something that's received significant attention in the last couple of weeks, and that's the burglary series that I think we've all heard about or talked about in the Valley. So the past couple of weeks, there have been significant attention on a series of burglaries in the Valley. On August 8th, the department participated in a virtual community information meeting held by council members Blumenfield and Rahman regarding the recent residential burglaries and hot prowls that have occurred in Encino, Tarzana, and Woodland Hills. This was a moderated question and answer type of town hall meeting. It was well attended with over 600 community members logging on. Deputy Chief Amada Tingarides and Deputy Chief Ruby Flores discussed the department's efforts to increase patrols in the area, how to better inform these communities of our efforts and our community engagement events. They also discussed crime reduction strategies that were implemented in response to the increase in residential burglaries. Additionally, we had Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton, who oversees our Detective Bureau, discuss investigative approaches used in these residential burglary series, which will assist us in the identification and arrest of involved suspects. In response to the surge in burglaries in these areas, the department has taken significant steps to enhance our crime-fighting capabilities, such as increasing the number of burglary detectives at West Valley Division, and also including our Commercial Crimes Division to do specialized investigations or more detailed investigations on the series that we're seeing develop in that area. And this effort is to ensure that more cases can be addressed promptly and effectively. We've also increased a visible presence in the area you'll see our mounted unit up in these areas, you'll see our Metropolitan Division officers up in these areas, you'll see an increased number of volunteer community patrols and foot beats in these areas. I won't get into too much detail, but you also please know that there are other resources in the area that you're not going to see that are absolutely contributing and making impact on the burglary and hot prowl problems up in this area. I want to talk about a couple impacts from this surge in resources and this effort to address the burglary problem that we have up there. So about a week and a half ago, there was 2 significant arrests that were made. These investigations are ongoing, so I won't get into too much detail. I will tell you that these 2 individuals are well known for burglaries. They've been arrested for burglary as well as robbery. There was a firearm weapon involved. They were arrested with various things such as costumes, construction outfits, materials to cover their identity, their face, various uniforms like delivery uniforms. So I believe that's going to have a significant impact on the burglary series up in that area. And as early as this morning at 03:30 hours, you may have heard it on the news already, but in Topanga area, Patrol Division, officers responded to a radio call of a burglary in progress at the Sneaker Hustle on Topanga Canyon. Once they arrived, they saw a van fleeing from the location. Short pursuit ensued. The vehicle pulled over. 2 suspects fled from the location. A perimeter was set up. 1 suspect was taken into custody. That person is currently in our custody and being interviewed. Second person, unfortunately, was able to get away. However, in the van, we recovered a significant number of sneakers from the Sneaker Hustle. And then you also may have heard that nearby there was also a computer store that was burglarized just before this incident. We have reason to believe, again, I won't get into too much detail, but we have reason to believe that the same suspects were involved in that burglary as well. The criminal history of the person that we have in custody is significant and does have prior burglaries and other violent offenses, and we think this is also going to have a significant impact in the burglaries in the area. I just want to say that we are committed to apprehending and bringing those violators, those serial burglars, to justice. We're going to continue our robust effort to reestablish a sense of safety for these communities that understandably are completely in fear and unsafe in their homes and in their businesses, and we can't tolerate that. And so we're going to continue that effort until we can reestablish that trust within the community. Moving on to crime, specifically for a year-to-date ending August 10th, 2024. So violent crime is up 3.5% or plus 640 crimes. Property crime is down 3.7% or minus 2,419 crimes. And overall Part 1 crime is down 2.1% or minus 1,779 crimes. Our violent crime arrests are down 0.8%, but our Part 1 crime arrests are up 4.9%. Our homicides are even for the year. We're at 189 homicides this year compared to the same time period last year, so zero change year over year. Our victims shot, citywide, our victims shot, the number of victims we have being shot are down 12.1%, or 88 less victims shot compared to 2023, and they're down 27.5%, or 243 less victims shot compared to 2022. Our aggravated assaults are down 2.3%, or 280 less aggravated assault victims in 2024 compared to 2023. And compared to 2022, our aggravated assaults are down 5.6%, or 706 less victims. Our robbery analysis, we continue to struggle with our robberies. We're up 20.1%, or 1,022 more robberies in 2024 compared to 2023. And compared to 2022, our total robberies are up 4.8%, or plus 278. The areas that are really driving our robberies this year are Rampart, Newton, Southwest, and Southeast. So essentially 2 divisions of Central Bureau, 2 divisions in South Bureau. And what we're really seeing is there's an increase in our strong arm robberies. They're up 2.1%. We have a total of 2,511 strong arm robberies, which account for 41% of our total robberies year to date. Again, the significant increase in these robberies are spread out through 7 areas throughout the city. That's Central Division, Rampart, Southwest, Hollywood, 77th, Newton, and Southeast divisions. Each of those divisions have over 150 strong arm robberies year to date. Robberies with firearms are still a concern. They're up 4.3%, or plus 63 compared to 2023. They account for a total of 25% of our overall robberies. Again, these are some of the most violent type of robberies that we see when somebody's armed with a firearm. So we do have a focus on recovering firearms and making those firearm-related arrests. Again, these robberies are occurring primarily in public spaces. They're occurring in the street, open parkways, and on the sidewalks. And so that's where our focus is. We also have a significant increase in our robberies in small businesses, mini marts, small restaurants, clothing stores, liquor stores, as I've discussed previously. That premise, these smaller retail locations, we're up 45%, or plus 484 robberies in that premise compared to 2023. And then burglaries, we talked about some incidents and some efforts just a minute ago, but overall, citywide, our burglaries are up 3.4%, or plus 306 burglaries compared to 2023. And they're up 2%, or plus 186 compared to 2022. Our commercial burglaries are up 3.2%, or plus 125. And our residential burglaries are up 3.6%, or plus 183 compared to 2023. Our residential burglaries account for 56.6% of our overall burglaries, but we're seeing challenges in both our commercial and our residential burglaries. And these efforts that I talked about previously will continue. Our motor vehicle thefts, I'm happy to say we've continued to see a decrease in our motor vehicle thefts. We're still up overall in the city, so motor vehicle theft is up 1%, or plus 158 motor vehicle thefts compared to 2023. Where we're seeing our challenges in motor vehicle theft are primarily in Valley Bureau. So Valley Bureau is up 24%, 24.3% in motor vehicle thefts, which is up 892 year-over-year motor vehicle thefts, which as you can see, that means the other bureaus are significantly down. So we're seeing this trend in Valley Bureau. And again, Kias, Chevys, and Hyundais are the most commonly stolen vehicles. We have seen a significant decrease in our Kias and Hyundais being stolen. For several weeks in a row, we've seen a decrease. I think that has to do with our relationships and the efforts with the manufacturers to reprogram and help overcome what's on social media about how to steal these vehicles, and that's been very effective. Chevys are still seeing an increase. Stolen vehicles at 2,116 Chevys, these are Silverados and Camaros, and they're up 19.9%. Our personnel strength is sworn at 8,791. Our civilian personnel strength is at 2,607, and our reserve officers remain at 380. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Chief. Do any of the other commissioners have questions? I'll start with Commissioner Kalanche.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for all that information. Glad you're back and safe. I just have a question about back to school. So big, significant, day yesterday. Lots of kids in LA Unified and other districts going back to school. So I'm wondering what the department is doing. I saw a report this morning and Valley Bureau. How are we working with the school district to ensure that all these students are getting to and from school safely?
Thank you. So we are absolutely working with LA Unified and school police, and we are involved in a program called Safe Passage. We are there at the school and also at other significant points where children congregate and walk to school, and assisting them to and from school before and after in a safe manner. We'll continue to do that. So.
And given that some of your reports, so thank you for that, but given that some of your reporting indicated robberies of like people walking on sidewalks, just, going about their day, is there any effort to ensure that students are safe during, especially the afternoon when they're coming home? You have a lot of students walking to and from school.
So that's part of Safe Passage. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for your report. And it's good to hear about the increased visibility in Valley Bureau with the mounted and metro and voluntary community patrols. I think that's important, and hopefully that will decrease, including the number of significant arrests that have already been made. I was wondering if you can just speak very briefly about the noteworthy fugitive arrest of a suspected serial rapist that occurred also recently. Can you just, and I believe it was after a lengthy police pursuit, can you just say a couple words about that?
Yeah, I will say so. Typically what you'll see in a pursuit, especially if it's just for a property crime such as a stolen vehicle, you'll see us go into tracking mode, and then if it gets too lengthy or dangerous, we'll hand it off to either CHP if it's on the freeway or another agency. And we do the balance test, which is this pursuit getting too dangerous to balance the value of the arrest versus the value of the property? And you'll see supervisors and officers making those decisions all the time. This particular arrest, our Gang and Narcotics Division was looking for this person who was recently identified as a wanted fugitive. And that's what they do. And once they identified that person and tried to conduct a stop that went into pursuit, then our uniform assets, which is our clearly marked black and white police vehicles, get involved in the pursuit. They understand the seriousness of this individual, and they continue to pursue. This vehicle, for the vast majority of this pursuit, although it was televised and somewhat lengthy, was strangely abiding by all the rules of the road, using turn signals, stopping at red lights, even going under the speed limit many times. So the balance test, we stayed engaged in the pursuit, long story short. Ultimately, the person went into, I believe, the UCLA Medical Center in a turnabout where he was stopped. He was taken out of the vehicle and then arrested for the fugitive warrant, and then was extradited back over to Boston.
And he had been a fugitive for like decades, is that right?
Well,
Or-
yes, the crime that the crimes that I know of that he's been accused of were 30-plus years ago, but I believe the identification of the individual occurred within this year.
Thank you, thank you. And I do think that that balancing test of analyzing the police pursuits is very important because, you know, if this is a person who's a serial rapist, it's good that he was apprehended, but we also have to make sure that police pursuits don't lead to dangerous results. So that's good that that was a safe pursuit. I would like to, sometime later this year, a report on kind of how the department deals with police pursuits in terms of how is it reviewed, what training is involved for officers, particularly when they're going through, say, intersections and things, if there's any training given on like how to drive in those types of emergency situations. And also just, you know, what technology is out there that either the department is using or are other departments starting to deploy or testing that the department may be interested in to see whether there's something that can either reduce the number of pursuits or make pursuits end faster. So just getting a better understanding of all of that would be helpful, like a verbal presentation down the road.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, I think that concludes item number 1 on the agenda. So moving on to item 2, public comment. Madam Secretary, please call on the first speaker.
The first speaker is Debbie Thomas.
Good morning. I would like to speak on all items.
Thank you.
I'm Debbie Thomas, a director with the Los Angeles Police Protective League. You have all been sent several documents that substantiate serious misconduct allegations made against Commander Lillian Carranza. As of this morning, she remains on the job and in command of Operation Central Bureau. Quite the message the Chief of Police and ultimately this police commission are sending to the lowly P2, who, if under the same cloud of serious misconduct allegations, would have been relieved and sent home. We all remember the recent Metro FI incident and Mission Gang incident. Allegations were made, and almost all of the accused were sent home. Why the double standard when it comes to Ms. Carranza? Our lawsuit and criminal referral to the State Department of Justice are quite simple to understand. Our computer forensic investigation, which has been sent to each of you, to the chief and virtually his entire staff, confirmed that in 2023, Carranza is alleged to have unlawfully accessed an LAPPL member communication and untruthfully responded to a question about her rank, where she claimed to be a lieutenant. That was untrue. She was promoted to captain in 2012 and has not been a member of the LAPPL since then. More recently, defendant LAPD Commander Lillian Carranza fraudulently posed as a member of the LAPPL to gain access to communications intended for member use only. Carranza is alleged to have filled out an LAPPL online help form that included her full name, email address, serial number, and cell phone number, and it included a request to be sent a secure link to the 2024 LAPPL Captain Assessment and Organizational Morale Survey. Why would she attempt to access our survey? What was her motivation? Who else may have assisted her in this fraudulent attempt? Who else knew, and when did they know she was posing as a member of our union to try and corrupt our survey? These are questions that an investigation should answer. In the meantime, Commander Carranza should be relieved and sent home, just like any other lowly and rank and file member of the LAPD would be. I have faith that everyone in this room will do what is right. Thank you for your time. I yield the rest.
Next, we have Andrew Graebner.
Will speak on all items.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Speaking of corruption, there's an item on the agenda today with a donation from the LAPPL Why is the police association making donations to the LAPD? That seems like kind of a bribe. So maybe the representative can address that. Why there's why the LAPPL is bribing the LAPD? So that would be a good thing to for the representative to address. So we have the chief's report, which should be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes at every meeting. If the chief's report exceeds 3 minutes, we should be able to match the amount of time the chief takes. Regardless of the amount of time the chief takes, everyone should be able to speak both in person and on the phone. Um, so I think I'm just kind of curious, what was the LAPD's role in policing in Paris? In France, on another continent, another country. What exactly was the LAPD doing in Paris? Like what laws were they enforcing? Were they arresting people? Because it sounds like they were assisting with policing in Paris. So what exactly was the LAPD doing in Paris? That's a really good question. All right, we have the consent agenda. We have $10,000 for activities and food for the cadet program, where where LAPD officers sexually assault teenage women as they try to indoctrinate teenagers into policing. We have $2,100 from the Century City Mall. That's an interesting relationship for the cadet program. We have fuck both of those. Again, we have the $1,000 bribe from the LAPPL for supplies for the Northeast, supplies and training for the Northeast area. We have what is going on item on this one where you're like resending the donation, then accepting the donation for the gym equipment from the Topanga area. It's really weirdly phrased on the agenda. And got another one, confusing phrasing on the agenda for all these different picnics and all this stuff. We have $6,300 from the Police Foundation for tables. Even 20 tables, is that really worth $6,300? Like, what kind of tables are you getting? Are they like gold plated or something? Um, so, but yeah, I mean, just like what exactly was the LAPD doing in Paris? Like that seems like something that should be addressed. Um, what were they doing? Like you said, they're assisting in policing.
Madam Secretary, who's the next speaker?
The next speaker is Larry Hanna.
Good morning, and thank you. I'm Larry Hanna, the independent counsel with the Los Angeles Police Protective League. It is clear to me that the LAPD discipline double standard is alive and well. And just the latest example is playing out before you in real time. Serious and potentially criminal allegations of fraud and violations of the Penal Code Section 502 have been made in a lawsuit naming defendant Commander Lillian Carranza. All of you have been given copies of those and given other documents dealing with this. A computer forensic investigation confirms that Ms. Carranza and potentially others were engaged in an effort to knowingly access and without permission alter, damage, delete, destroy, or otherwise use any data from a computer system, or computer network in order to deceive and to execute a scheme or artifice to defraud and deceive or extort. That is what Penal Code Section 502 says. Why is Commander Carranza still in command? She must be treated like every other officer, and so the officers will know that they can trust the system. She should be sent home until the outcome of this investigation is done. Why the double standard? Why the double standard? In the in the 24 years, it was 24 years ago that the Board of Inquiry for the Rampart Area Corruption Incident public report was issued. In that report, there were multiple references back then about the LAPD double standard. Let me quote just a few of them for you. And I'm sure you have it, so if you can check these pages, but page 330, personnel at the working level clearly believe there's a dual standard of discipline within the department. Page 33, page 331, an overarching concern across all ranks is that the perception of a double standard of discipline for the rank and file employees versus management. Page 332, while many help the department and most of its employees in high regard, there's this permeating thing of double standards all the way through the department. This commission is in charge of the LAPD. If the chief and his team are not able to act, we ask the commission, please send Commander Carranza home until the end of this investigation and until we know the outcome. We thank you very much. I just want to say we have some other members of our board here, and I'd just like to introduce them very quickly. if I
Sir,
may.
sorry, I
Nope.
have to treat everyone the same. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Steve Riley.
Good morning.
Good morning. What items would you like to speak on?
All items, please.
Okay, 3 minutes.
First, I'd like to dedicate my 3 minutes of public comment to the Olympian Louis Zamperini, that's Zamperini, who wrote a book, Devil at My Heels, a heroic Olympian's astonishing story of survival as a Japanese POW in World War II. He also is featured in the story is featured in a movie, Unbroken. I highly recommend everyone hearing my voice read the story of a great champion who became a Christian evangelist. So, welcome back, Chief Choi, and to the reserve officers who represented well in Paris. Good job. Glad you're back safe. Now, if you lie to people, if you censor people, if you ignore people, it's not a democracy. What is it then? It's an oligarchy. It's tyranny. What we have is a smug elite. And connecting it to what was just reported by Larry Hanna and Debbie Thomas from the Protective League, you have a smug elite at the top of the LAPD. And there definitely is a double standard. The LAPD is being destroyed by double standards and DEI mediocrity. DEI, in my mind, represents duplicity, egotism, and ignorance and insecurity. So I suggest that you start to work on the double standard that exists within the LAPD, because double standards can destroy an organization. Now, National Night Out. I'm glad Chief Choi mentioned it. Unfortunately, it was not mentioned by the Police Commission before the actual National Night Out. Why was that? Why wasn't it listed on the LAPDonline.org website? We're supposed to know about events before they happen, not after they happen. As an example, there was an event in downtown Los Angeles at Pershing Square. There were some great officers there, and there were some great people manning the tables from different organizations. Unfortunately, it was surrounded by a fence that was opaque, and you couldn't tell what was going on inside. There were more officers and staff from different organizations than there were community members. How was a community member to know what was actually going on? No signage, no mention of it on the police commission meetings prior. And this is not the first year that's happened. Am I being censored? I asked if I'm being censored because I have sent communications to the website for the police commission. Last week, it was posted afterwards. So I had to read my letter, and I've posted another one, welcoming back the mayor and asking for focus on issues that need to be focused on.
The next speaker is Harriet Elliott. I'm talking about my son who was killed in 1992. That's 32 years ago. There's never been an investigation, not for lack of me trying, okay? Did a Public Records Act request, and finally, 6 months in advance, Newen who works for Fuhrer, the last attorney, sent me, I left the country and lived in Panama 2 years, just for pleasure to get away from the stress. And she sent me this information about my son, but I had never known all this time. So I'd missed the trial all this time that they had an assassin. I never heard that they had an assassin, Rome or Romero, okay? Well, that can't be true. Why? Because here is Detective Tinker's statement saying, these two, my son and this person inside the party argued, and the other person asked my son to walk out the party with him in Arlington and 27th, okay? And shot my son in the chest. No reason why, but it's not Rome or Romero, okay? These are two different versions. By the way, I have 20 people around me that have died. All my friends, all the kids that I thought I liked when I was young are dead. Now, they're mostly all cancer, okay? DEWs cause cancer. I only learned about directed energy very recently. My life is governed by directed energy, and I would tell you this book is the same date, almost the same date. It's 85. Reagan talked about Star Wars in 84, okay? They had this much information on electronic warfare, and it is shocking, okay? All this stuff, they had a big body of evidence. The President Reagan only said 3 things. Directed energy is lasers, particle beams, and one other thing. Anyway, I'm just learning about it. By the way, Linda Newen said that she sent me all the information. Right here, I'm seeing it. I got nothing until I was in Panama, and then I got to read this stuff. I am a victim of directed energy. Right here, this is, both my eyes have infections in them. Only reason we found that is because I got measured for new glasses. And even though I'm taking another antibiotic, I have Keflex. I was on the last day of Keflex, which is a general antibiotic, for something else. I have 4 different infections in my body in 4 months. This is directed energy. The doctors don't even know it. I told the doctor, give me a stronger medication. He can't do that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Next, we have caller ending 1449.
Yes, good morning. I'd like to speak on all items.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Okay. Dear Chief, Troy, and Police Commissioners, who is running the Los Angeles Police Protective League? It has turned into a circus. How could they attack Commander Lillian Carranza, a 30-plus year LAPD veteran, without even doing basic due diligence? The LAPPL's ignorance about their own electronic platform and communication system is astonishing. How do they not know that the majority of command staff and retirees have access to their email, surveys, and electronic portal? By sending emails addressed to specific people, it is clearly an invitation to take the survey. It is their responsibility to purge, audit, and update the emails and surveys that they send out, but their security systems are non-existent. This has been happening for many years and is not Commander Carranza's fault or responsibility. They claim their surveys impact MOU negotiations, yet they fail to ensure only intended recipients can access them. After lying, slandering, and humiliating Commander Carranza, they owe her and the department a massive apology. She should hold them responsible because their reckless actions have now seriously jeopardized her chances of becoming the next LAPD chief. This is outrageous behavior. According to the LAPPL, Commander Carranza filled out a survey with her opinions, and now the LAPPL has betrayed their promised confidentiality by airing it publicly and attempting to criminalize her actions. How can their members trust them now? How can the media, the department, or the public believe anything the LAPPL says? How can any member feel safe filling out anything from their own union after this? Chief Choi and police commissioners, you must take immediate action to address the misconduct of the LAPBL directors. They are under your oversight and they are clearly abusing their positions of power as union heads to retaliate against anyone who challenges their administrative or criminal misconduct. An investigation must be launched immediately. Let's not ignore the timing. Commander Carranza filed a formal complaint against LAPPL President Craig Lally for slandering a respected department captain just last month. Now she's being targeted. The LAPPL's actions are disgraceful. Their members, the department, and Commander Carranza deserve better. I yield the rest of my time.
The next card is for Silva Munoz.
I'm the first person in the room. It take me more than 2 hours on the bus. I was thinking by getting here early as possible so I can get a chance to speak. But the officer informed me that even though I'm the first one who submit my card, but they are doing randomly pick and choose process, so I may not be able to speak today. So thank you for your double standard. When Commissioner Shield talking about gave a warning to Herman, I witnessed there's a regular member who playing soccer in this room. I didn't hear a word from you. I heard a member was yelling at you, "Why don't you remove me, Russia Shield?" I did not hear you a word from you. But when Mr. Herman moved his hand, when Mr. Herman stand up, you immediately give him a warning. Thank you very much for your double standard. When the Commissioner Kalanche asked about the kids' safety and walking on the street, I believe that's a very good question. The only thing is, I actually believe that we wish that we can treat every person in the city of Los Angeles equally, not just protecting students. I believe a 60-year-old woman, a 20-year-old man, a 90-year-old wheelchair, their life is equally the same way, equally important than LAUSD students. So that's just my feedback. When Commissioner Shield talking about a serial rapist, I was at the probation commission just the other day. When Texas, when you are being a serial rapist, you are end up in 25 years to life, sometimes multiple life sentences in Texas. But when the probation commission are talking about how can we provide services to those rapists in the prison, and how can we create a process to release them early back to the street. So when you have that kind of woke criminals justice system, a woke probation with a woke department, then I can tell you right now, our double standard commission, that you will never get rid of the rapist or looter or whatever. Chief said we have more than 600 violent crime. Chief said we have less arrest. So that is a typical LAPD crime formula. More violent crime, less arrest. That's exactly year after year, day after day. They told me, I heard, when you have a tough crime ideology, you will never find a job at LAPD. But my words will never back down.
Next, we have Audit LA.
Yes, good morning. I want to speak on all agenda items.
Okay, 3 minutes.
I too want to sit here and come against the LAPPL. Since when do they ever come and try to help clean up corruption unless it's something that they're interested in? So I'm asking you to tell them to kick rocks. And I hope I'd like to see Commander Carranza become the next chief. She's tough. She stands up to a lot of this stuff. And if you take any money from the LAPPL, then I consider that taking a bribe, or it's bad money. It is bad money. Don't even take it. And I also want to talk about even the LA Police Foundation. To me, that's just another way of laundering money. Because they don't have to tell us who is giving them the money that then trickles down to you. Because I am, I'm a watchdog for like what Scientology the Church of Scientology, where their money is going when it comes to safe pointing and being entrenched in LAPD and other city agencies. So how do we know that a lot of this money could be from the Church of Scientology, and then in return they get favors. They get a quick police response. They are getting they're allowed to get this endless shutting down of L. Ron Hubbard Way for nothing, for almost no people coming to any of these events hardly. They're getting, they're able to have all kinds of ADA violations. They're able to work without permits. There's so much that they're able to do. And is LAPD looking the other way because you are getting donations, even though it's like being funneled through the foundation? I'm asking you guys, like, because it's not going through like directly, because I've asked Mejia's office whether or not Scientology is giving you direct money. I know they used to. They used to give you these gigantic checks. If Officer Talman and Flo White would do a little song and dance, they get a big cardboard check. I don't see that happening anymore. So is it all being funneled through the police foundation? We want this corruption to stop. We want transparency. We don't want you to, I don't want you to take another dime from them, any of them, until they tell us who is giving them the money that you are accepting. It's not, they are getting donations and you are taking donations, but who is giving the donations? Are they getting favor? Because, all they have to say is, oh, well, we gave through the foundation, we gave you $1 million. You don't think that's going to affect certain officers if they're corrupt? And then the the police league, they're a joke. They don't sit here and go against cops unless it's their own best interest. So please tell them to kick rocks. Please, I hope Carranza gets in and comes and deals with them. Like, seriously, I ask you to make her the next chief. And other than that, God, I am, I'll yield back the rest of my time. Thank you.
Mr. Herman?
Well, the card said Fred Biscuit. Read the goddamn fucking card into the record. Bring it on. Here we go. Impermissible. I wish to talk about the inquiry, what the police said about crime. Fuck crime. Fuck the DA. And fuck your investigation with robberies. They keep happening. So fuck the police. Niggers with attitude, when do you do your goddamn job righteously? Because like you heard, all ranks, double standards, they still happen. You judge me because I'm a black, white motherfucker too, all because you don't like what my shirt says under the First Amendment. Can you read? If you went there, can you read? It doesn't say fuck Limp Biscuit. It doesn't say fuck Herman. It doesn't say fuck Spindler. It says fuck you. And that's the reason why I'm here to talk about the goddamn Olympics and the fucking cadet program, because that's where kids get fucked. Am I right or wrong? Politically, that's happened here. Children were getting fucked by officers at their barbecue roast, right? So I know for a fact that my statements are based on facts. Then you look at item B on your consent item. Fuck beat fuck patrols. Yeah, beat fuck controls. And look at item C. Fuck area cadets. I can't read this shit. No wonder why I'm struggling here. Nigga. $1,300 for fucking gym equipment. Fuck that shit. Let me go to Brandenburg versus Ohio, because this is the real info of what America was built on. And this is what the courts say. How far is the nigger going to? Yeah, this is what we're going to do to the niggas. A dirty nigger named Herman. Send the Jews back to Israel. Let's give them back to the dark garden. After all, in Torrance, California, goddamn bitch cop motherfucker put a goddamn swastika in someone's fucking car. in his fucking car. A stupid cop with a stupid job. What the fuck?
That's off topic.
I'm a non-agenda public comment. I'm talking about the police.
Torrance has nothing to do with this.
I'm talking
Torrance
about
has
the
nothing
police.
to do with
okay,
this.
then let me go talk about LAPD then. You got a fucked up boss, a fucked up job, a fucked up command, a fucked up racist police, and a fucked up goddamn motherfuck. How many times can I say fuck in a time? So many fucking times. 42 USC 1983. Fuck the police.
You're out of time.
There you go for the record. Thank
And
you.
I apologize again to people listening of the hateful speech that we have to sometimes tolerate at these meetings.
The next speaker, please, Mr. Spindler.
So today, apparently we're talking about a performance evaluation of a great employee. But are we talking about Lillian Carranza? My favorite cop? She's so pretty. She's so good at her job. Now, when the LAPPL hates you and you're a cop, you gotta be an honest cop, right? Because LAPPL donating money all over the fucking place. They buying the goddamn department. They buying it. See, this is how it works. You tax the people. You take and steal the money. You put it into City Hall in a big pot. Then you give it to the cops. And then the cops donate to the LAPPL. And then they get a raise and they donate more to the LAPPL. Pretty soon the LAPPL got millions and millions of dollars of slush fund tax-free. So then they give away non-profit donations and get more tax donations. And then the department accepts more gifts. Pretty soon, you don't have a goddamn police commission. Pretty soon you got an LAPPL commission. And they're over here telling you to do your goddamn job. You don't do their goddamn job. How do you know Lillian Carranza's not working with the FBI undercover? How do you know people in this room are working with the FBI? How do you know there's not a K-18 scanner going on right now of all the cars parked around it to see if you're being tracked? How do you know? You don't know. But the FBI is goddamn investigating the department and the DWP and the council president's office right now. Let's give you a hand. Very good. Yeah. Right? Now, here's what Lillian Carranza can do for me. I got swatted March 30th, 2017 on a call with no weapon, and all of a sudden it turned into an assault weapon call. Now, who's got those secret tapes of how you illegally did that? And who was that witness? I gave the city attorney a picture of the secret witness you hid from me. All I want you to do is reopen my goddamn claim, settle it, and pay me my money. That's all I want. But black folk like me, we don't get our justice. And of course, we got Russia there defending refinery owners so they can steal gas from black people and charge more money for fuel. What a goddamn bitch. Finally, Lillian Carranza for police chief. She's great.
The next speaker, Donald Harlan.
Hi, I'm Donald Harlan. First of all, there's no such thing as a Beverly Hills Police Department. LAPD and any outside law enforcement agency that can handle the situation can do whatever they want to Beverly Hills Police Department. There is no such thing as Beverly Hills Police Department. There should be nobody driving around in a black and white car posing like Beverly Hills Police Department. Crazy fuck those people up. Okay, about the robberies on the West Valley, yeah. it was all the sheriffs and county employees that illegally developed there in Woodland Hills and were living there, and it's probably their family members robbing their own house there from all those people they illegally stuck there. I'm like, hey, rob the cops here and rob these people here. It's just not. This just doesn't work.
Board Secretary, can you please pause the time? Gentlemen, you have already spoken and you're speaking while other people are speaking. So this is your first warning, both of you. And if you continue to speak, I'll ask you to leave.
It's like I don't know if the LAPD can fix the problem robbing the people in the houses that are there illegally. It just seems like a big circle.
All right, sorry again. Please, both of you gentlemen, please leave the building. I've already given you a warning. Then you are, right, all right. Now you can both leave.
So the police department gets rid of 18 people, and there's still 58 people added to LAPD. They can't figure it out. So yeah, you only caught 58 people acting like LAPD that you can't explain. You really don't know. And if you showed up to LAPD thinking that, no, there's 58 employees you can't explain, that's not bad considering how many employees there are, or you have a big problem. Okay, another thing about the rapists trying to escape to the movie studios, that's not the same guy. They've already got the guy, and they just do a cover up and try and make money on the television repeating it. And it's no surprise that there's a rapist a serial rapist escaping to the movie studios over by UCLA. That doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, I would probably blame the cooking channel and the illegal hotels you guys developed for the problem. In another thing on the macro scale, we got Lee and Associates with a bunch of illegal real estate pushing one candidate. And then we got Brookfield on an opposing political party pushing a different political candidate. But it's really the same guys. They're all in it together. If you have two people on opposite political parties funding candidates like Lee Associates and Brookfield, looks like they're really working together. They all have worked together, and maybe take a closer look at Pershing Square. I don't think you guys are right.
The next speaker is Matios Kadan.
My name is Matias with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition, speaking on all items. Walking in, I noticed a sign that said, this is Hate Crime Awareness Month for the LAPD. And that's laughable for a number of reasons, and I'm going to kind of highlight why. When we talk about a hate crime, broadly, it means a crime based on one's identity, ethnicity, religious background, sexuality, etc. And crime is a construct that's constantly altered and levied against communities at the whim of the LAPD and elected leaders, and therefore kind of not a reliable metric for kind of the putting of prejudice into action. But I think the department and the city largely conflates crime with violence. And violence is more recognizable. And we see violence against Black and brown people levied regularly by LAPD, ranging from the violence of sweeps, citations, physical brutality, to regular killings. And there's a long history of this violence exhibited by LAPD, and many of us have experienced it firsthand. I've been harassed and brutalized by LAPD, and in recent years have even heard explicit instances or explicit language that's racialized and violent by the LAPD. For example, I once heard an LAPD officer communicate to a large group of people that police referred to the placing of a pistol in one's waistband as a, quote, I would never use this word, but cholo holster. And as gross as this statement is, it is emblematic of the fact that LAPD embodies and is inextricable from a culture that combines race or confuses race or actually intentionally conflates race with criminality. And we see that time and time again. In the department's own after-action report following the Rodney King uprising, there's a report or a documentation of gang officers in South LA driving around with the apartheid South Africa flag on the hood. And we can kind of go after example or after example. In recent years, even, there was a George Floyd Valentine that was circulating around the department, right? That mocked his death in a racialized way. And I think it's telling that an alleged instance of fraud perpetrated by Carranza is actually given more gravity than any of these normalized instances of racialized violence. And that's evidenced by the fact that LAPD is allowed to continue perpetrating this violence without any mention of that violence in this commission. I just want to say that Alexander Mitchell was punched in the face while handcuffed 2 weeks ago. It seemingly vanished from conversation in this commission. And then lastly, this mention of safe passages in LAUSD program, when we think about this explicit violence that's allowed to happen, even in a racialized way, the way the LAPD counters that is through the deputization of young folks, through kind of disseminating this culture through counterinsurgency strategy. So we talk about safe passages, and on paper, it is nice, right? Walking kids to school so that they're safe. But in reality, that erases the violence that LAPD perpetrates against these young folks specifically. And when we focus in on one youth program, specifically the PATH program, providing alternatives to hinder extremism, in its early iterations, we actually see explicit kind of risk factors crafted by the LAPD that point to race, that point to religious affiliation, as kind of something that's emblematic or indicative of criminality. Okay.
The next speaker, Hamid Khan.
I'll just pick up where Matios left. But before I get to that, tomorrow at the Budget and Finance Committee, they're going to be hearing the $300,000 attorney fees that's going to go to the attorneys of Stop LAPD Spying Coalition and journalist Ben Camacho. And this was the whole fucked up lawsuit that was filed because LAPPL, we just got to, just say that owns and controls the city. And they direct, and having a corrupt, unhinged city attorney makes a recipe for disasters. So now $300,000 is going to go to the attorney fees on a completely frivolous lawsuit that was filed after the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition published the website watchthewatchers.net and published the photos of all LAPD officers that were received through a Public Records Act that were published by, and they were given by the city. There's also another second lawsuit that we're going to get more attorney fees as well, where the PPL, John Doe's, over 900 John Doe's, and that's also pretty interesting as well, that you don't even know who's suing you because it's under John Doe's, right? So, and then the city attorney filed a cross complaint to pull us in that we are liable for damages, which were thrown out again by the court too. And so the point is that what we are seeing is the corruption of the city after public records are released and the mayor is all over the place, the DA is all over the place, the city attorney is all over the place, the whole establishment is all over the place. In fact, the president of the commission at that time, who happens to be an entertainment lawyer, started speaking about us publishing private information. City attorney saying on NBC that this endangers people. This is freaking public information. There is nobody's home address. There is nobody's phone number. There's nobody's family members. Nothing at all. It's all how much money they make and who they are as a public service to the community. So they should know who these officers are who are inflicting extreme harm in our communities. Going back to Matius's point, providing alternatives to hinder extremism, this is a failed program that is built on behavioral surveillance. This is a failed program that is built on countering violent extremism and preventing violent extremism over and over again. And do you all even know what I'm talking about? Because you don't. You have no idea what these programs are. Do you know that about the rest of the programs? Do you know what SARA is? Scanning, assessment, response, and analysis. Do you know anything about the program? Do you know what NEAs are, neighborhood engagement areas? Do you know that when we fought back and successfully dismantled predictive policing program, how they rebranded all of this? How they rebranded, and ACCICs, and the old CSOCs. So the question is that you sitting in these chairs, how much do you know about these programs? And that's where the problem lies, that we come week after week and we'll keep on coming because that's why we call you a rubber stamp body.
Thank you. Next speaker.
The next speaker, Jonathan Foster.
Hello, Jonathan Foster again. I don't know how effective I'm going to be. It's been around for a while. There's some people that are just finding out there's a big problem. How did you fit so many elephants in the same room? Yeah. But I do want to say I support the police department. I think they do 98% excellent service, and it's 2% that's gross, and that's what we need to talk about because I hope to motivate correction. So, wanted to say quickly, there was a motorcycle accident with an officer, and head-to-toe body armor wouldn't have helped this officer, but it helps with the guns, right? And so these elephants in the room are just finding out there's a problem. Yeah, I know I said you could stay here. I got a hand slap when I was talking about Sancho Tina. So let me play this one from the Grateful Dead. So did he go to Tennessee, or is he still here? Because with barely 2 minutes, what I'm trying to get to was there was an officer, he was arresting somebody and punched them in the jaw or something, hurt this person, was in handcuffs. My question is, was this person sleep deprived? Is that the reason he couldn't control his emotions? Because he didn't have enough sleep? Yeah, I'm smart, bro. I'm smarter than everybody in this building. I'm the smartest person in the building, bro. Rasha, you don't come close to anything I think about. And the PPL is putting officers in a position of emotionally dealing with people that they have to kill, and then they have to deal with this. Okay? Why is this going on? I've been coming down here for 6 years. It's still going on. We know what's going to happen next month, next year. Why hasn't it changed? Don't tell me it's because we're lacking 8,000 officers, because they do this from here to New York. And I want to know, why hasn't it changed? You people think you're something? You 5 elephants? You ain't nothing. You're murderers yourself, Larry. Good guy, not thinking correctly. So I hope to motivate better thinking. And it takes sleep. There was a report from Harvard that asked, does the heart control the brain, or does the brain control the heart? And they found there are signals that originate out of the heart. So these mentally ill people, how do they get a knife and why, right? And like there's one guy today, his name, I'm sorry, Ladessa, he called and he told the police he might hurt somebody. So in his heart, he knows he's doing the wrong thing, but in his brain is the circular thinking he can't get out of, and then they killed him.
Jamie Cusick, please.
Thank you.
Why aren't you changing it?
The next speaker, Jamie Cusick.
Hey, Jason Reedy's also been waiting for over an hour remotely. So he can stand up at 9:30.
Yeah, do you want to call on Jason? I'll give you time now if you want to put him on.
Ma'am, you've been called. You can speak. Use your time as you see fit.
Okay. All right. I'll address one of the officer-involved shootings on the agenda this week. Angel Garrido called 911 himself last year when he was in the midst of a mental health crisis. When police arrived on the scene, guess what the fuck they allege that he was holding? A knife. Oh, right. One of those things that just happens to be in every residence where any human lives. These officers who allege that Garrido was advancing on them with a knife proceeded to shoot him. Now we know that when police say that one of the people they murder was carrying a knife or any other unspecified weapon or object or plastic fork, that person's hands were pretty much guaranteed to be empty. But even if Garrido had been holding a knife, and even if he had been advancing on the officers with it, fully armed officers, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Multiple officers had no other ideas about how to help this man in crisis other than to shoot him. And that's because police know that they have complete immunity to fire their weapons anytime a flicker of fear enters their cowardly hearts. This piece of shit who shot Angel Garrido, Brent Houlihan, he knew he had immunity when he was walking into that apartment building because this incident was his third shooting with LAPD. In 2009, Valerie Allen was also having a mental health crisis when Houlihan shot her 3 times at close range. A civil jury found that his actions were malicious, negligent, and amounted to an excessive use of force. Guess who the fuck found that shooting to be in policy? This commission! And if we go back to Houlihan's second year on the force, back in 1997, he murdered Daryl Hood, who was also, at the time, in the midst of a mental health crisis. LAPD claimed that Hood had charged at them, but this was, of course, refuted by witnesses. The fact that this cowardly, trigger-happy cretin, Houlihan, was allowed to commit all 3 of these egregious acts of violence is really not even the point here. The point is that he was encouraged to commit these acts of violence. And that's because police exist to protect white property and white wealth and to terrorize poor people and brown people like Angel Garrido. I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. We have come upon the end of our designated time. We've actually gone over it, but I will take 2 more calls that are waiting, and then we will conclude public comment session.
Can we have one more in person? We have Doretta Sanchez.
Let's take the 2 that are on the phone and then the last one.
Okay, next we have Philip Tabby.
Good morning, Commission. All items, please.
3 minutes.
Today is August 13th, 2024, 167 days since Moore left the building. Make no mistake, he was fired, given a buyout as a consultant. We are not stupid. Chief Bended Knee Moore will not be remembered by his great accomplishments. Rather, he'll be remembered by the bad culture he left behind at the LAPD. Worst chief of police in Los Angeles in my time, if not since the beginning of the LAPD. 167 days, and we still do not have a chief of police. That is the brutal truth. Interim Chief Choi has clearly stated he does not have the authority to do something as meaningful as returning the blue line flag back into our station lobbies. Los Angeles is not a safe place right now, and we need a strong, confident, experienced person to be hired as Los Angeles' new chief of police. There is a lot of work to do, and new ideas and a powerful leader for the LAPD will make a world of difference. I do not think anyone running from within the department is ready to handle such a big task with poor training given by our former chief and the ties within the city, especially our corrupt city council. Never again will we allow corrupt people like corrupt soft on crime Monica Rodriguez to have such a large influence on how our chief runs the department. This is one of the many reasons no one trusts soft on crime Monica Rodriguez here in CD7. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a few wonderful people within the department who are running, but it's not your time. And no, brags a lot Hamilton is not one of them. Speaking of him, PSB, what's going on with that investigation I requested after I reported Hamilton lobbying for a position for his wife, calling Valley captains and even Deputy Chief Ruby Flores? I don't think the case is closed since I have not received a second letter from you yet. Now, today, we still do not have a full police commission. Mayor Bass, why has Briggs's empty spot not been filled? Also, why has the public comment for today's meeting not been posted on the website? Hopefully by the end of this meeting, it will be. A very important letter was sent and it was suppressed yet again. And it's not the first time. Our voices will not be silenced. We, the people, deserve a chief of police, and a great job and bravo to the LAPPL for doing the right thing. To think Carranza is running for chief of police, we need an outside chief. LAPD is swimming in corruption. God, please bless the LAPD. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, next we have Jason Reedy.
why did I have to wait so long? I've been on for the last hour and 15 minutes, and yet I wasn't called on. You went through all these speakers in person. Anyways, so I want to first talk about how you were so eager just now to call Dretta Sandoz. For those that don't know, Dretta's son, Daryl Glover, shot Jermaine Pettit in the back. We remember in Africa Town. And so just wanted to point out that, yeah, you have his mother here today, probably trying to sell us on some bullshit. Speaking to the person who referred to my son, that wannabe pig who parades around talking about his tiny penis and being so depressed, that spews all sorts of racist shit, chose to talk about my baby kicking around a soccer ball in the back of the room today. And it's interesting that he chose to speak of my baby when I'm not there. He's a fucking coward. I also want to say that this is the same guy who your senior lead officer, Damaris Bonfil, was hugging up on last month at City Council. Now, let's talk about a PRA that was supposed to be handled by this commission. I filed a PRA for emails for Steve Sobroff on October 17, 2023. Richard T. Fink gave me 6 deadlines that he was going to produce those records by: November 30th, December 8th, December 15th, December 22nd, February 21st, and finally he said he'd have those responsive records over to me before his retirement. This, of course, was a lie. In fact, T-Fank said that he had been diligently working on the redactions throughout this time period, and after he retired, he forwarded those requests to LAPD. Now, LAPD claimed that they did not receive any files from the police commission. So who's lying here? The LAPD or the police commission? I mean, you all are usually very good at colluding together. So on July 5th, LAPD closed my request and produced 25 records, despite finding 1,299 responsive records to my request. Let me repeat that again. 25 records of the 1,299 responsive records were released. Now, after asking why 98% of the emails were withheld, the LAPD said that they'd have a response to me by September 19th. 2.5 months I'd have to wait for a response to know why they're withholding all these records. What are you hiding? Now, this is how the commission treats public records requests from members of the public they claim to be the voice of. Now, as Hamid was saying last meeting, we should return back to the old way that we did public comment and how it was handled, allowing the public to comment on each of the regular agenda items. But we need to take it a step further. The chief will answer questions from the media and will answer questions from the commission, but it's time he answers questions from the public. The most critical questions come from us, and the chief gives the media 15 to 20 minutes after a police commission meeting to answer any questions. He should be doing the same. In fact, that should be happening during the meeting. We should be able to ask this fucker direct questions and he should be able to answer them. Now, lastly, I want to say fuck you, Thomas, Mendoza, Wecker, Campos, of course, Sandoz, Garza, Zurich, and of course, the biggest fuck you to Jamie McBride. Sorry that I missed you in person, but I'm sure we'll see you.
And the final speaker, Dretta Sandoz.
Good morning. Good morning, Commission. Good morning, Chief Choi. I wasn't planning on speaking, but after hearing all the comments and my fellow directors, I thought I should. I want to start by saying, Chief Choi, you are a good man. You inherited this mess, okay? I have 30 years on this department, and I love this department, okay? It's not about Lillian Carranza. It's about double standard. Okay. When I came to this, the league actually, I wasn't one to get complaints. I wasn't one to, I'm pissed off at the department, let me go to the league. It was to change the culture of this department. And it's a slow moving ship on this department. There's a double standard between command staff and police officers. So if you remove Lillian Carranza from this equation and you insert someone else that did the same thing, it's wrong. So all we're asking as the union is to investigate this complaint like you would investigate a P2, a P3, a sergeant, a lieutenant. Okay, that's all we're asking. We're not asking you to stick her to her, stab a knife in her back. Just do the right thing. Do a thorough investigation. That is it. I can recall the Northeast Gang Unit, and this was a couple years ago. You guys took 5 good guys and destroyed them. Metro, you took 20 officers and destroyed them. That's what you did. And I'm sorry. I love these officers, but I love this department too, but you guys don't treat them right. You don't. So what I'm asking for, do the right thing. And the COA sends out a letter saying, oh, it's because you guys are on the website. The command staff is on the website. We know that. It's not about that. So the command staff officers are trying to conflate what the real issue is. The real issue is someone going onto our website. They're pretending to be a lieutenant to distort our survey. When we completed this survey and when we said this survey was coming out, you know what you guys did? Oh, LAPPL can't go to roll calls anymore without getting permission. You know what? I did that MOU. I know exactly what it says. We could go to roll call with permission from the watch commander. But the COA is trying to consort this for whatever reason, and you guys fill in the blanks on that one.
Thank you. And that completes item 2 on the agenda. Moving to item 3 on the agenda. I will be pulling from the consent agenda items 3E, 3F, and 3G. Do any of the other commissioners have any questions about items 3A, 3C, or 3D? No. All right. I move that we approve items 3A, 3C, and 3D and accept the donations. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those are accepted. Now turning to item number 3 and 3F. So I'll just note at the beginning that the board had intended to rescind item 3E at the end of our last meeting. This was a donation that was accepted at the end of the last meeting, but inadvertently rescinded a different item instead. Before we discuss these matters, items 3E and 3F, I move to rescind the prior board actions taken for those items, and they relate to donations of gym equipment by NBC Universal. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so those are rescinded. And before we vote to whether or not to approve them, I do have some questions. Who's great? Is that Commander Liam?
Good morning. Yes, Commander Liam, and with me is Captain Lopez. He's the area captain of Topanga area.
Wonderful, thank you. And I just had a couple of questions. At our last meeting, the question I think the President Southers had asked is whether the department had previously accepted any donations from media companies in the past. I think we caught you off the spot and you said tentatively that you did not think so. Have you looked into this issue anymore?
Yes, the only other one that we're familiar with is the E. It's just
I can
these-
answer that.
Actually-
Commissioner, I actually looked into that. There was a donation by another major media outlet several years ago. This is not, what we're seeing here today is not the first time that we've accepted donations from a media network. I will tell you that there is no solicitation of getting or wanting anything from these networks. This is completely independent and to help our officers.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. So in addition to, so just clarifying what was said at the last meeting, there has been prior, at least in recent memory, a prior media company that has donated to the department. Is that correct?
Yes, there has.
And also kind of going through that exercise of looking at past donations, I believe there was another NBC Universal donation that was made June 18th, and that's item 3F. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And both of these donations appear to be unsolicited donations of used gym equipment. So thank you, NBC Universal, for those. These were made at the area level, and I thank you for you kind of anticipated my question, just wanting to make sure that this, as with all donations that are made with the department, that there is no kind of like improper influence or preferential treatment given to the donor. Is that your understanding, Chief?
That is correct, yes.
All right. Okay, that's all the questions that I had. Do any of the other commissioners have any questions? No? Okay, wonderful. With that additional information, I now move to approve items 3F and 3G and accept the donations. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that passes. Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. Turning to item 3G, this is the item that was previously approved at our last meeting and then inadvertently rescinded at the end of the meeting instead of the NBC universal donation that we we're just talking about. I do not have any questions about this item. Do any of the other commissioners?
No.
Nope. Okay, wonderful. Then I move to approve item 3G and accept that donation. Is there a
Second.
all in favor say aye?
Aye.
All right, that passes as well. Thank you all. Now moving to item 4, the regular agenda items. Let's see, the first item 4A, the department's report relating to Gang and Narcotics Division qualifications and selection process audit. Thank you. And can you introduce yourselves and give us an update?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sharon Sargent, Commanding Officer of Audit Division. I have with me today Lieutenant Sean Svoboda and also Police Performance Auditor Sergio Saiz. We're here to present a brief overview of the Gang and Narcotics Division selection process audit. This was part of our 2024 annual audit plan. This audit looked at sworn employees who received a pay grade advancement or a lateral transfer to GND from December 2022 through December 2023. And in looking at the policies and procedures related to the GND selection process, this audit focused on 3 primary areas. Those were if the commanding officer completed a rationale for the final selection, if the commanding officer completed a review of the candidate's disciplinary history, and whether the candidate's polygraph exam and additional background reports were included in the selection packages. The report shows that the department received full compliance in all 3 areas. Audit Division met with GND and they were in general agreement with the audit's findings. We have representatives from GND also here in case the board has any additional questions.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Kalanche?
Just a quick question. What percentage of the entire unit is part of the audit? Does my question make sense? So when you do an audit, is there a percentage that you select?
No, ma'am. What we do is we'll take an audit period. In this case, it was approximately 12 months. And we requested all of the law enforcement personnel that came into GND
So
at
like
that
the
time.
new.
Right. And so whoever came in is who we took. I don't have a percentage, but we could get that for you.
So just so that I can understand, so it's, you do all of the new ones?
For that audit
For that
period.
audit.
That audit period, okay. What would you say is the percentage? I mean, I'm not asking for like an exact number.
I don't know how many are assigned to GND, so I couldn't tell you. Maybe the captain from GND might be able to tell us how many were.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
For that period, it was a total of 37 that we looked at for that 1-year period, though.
37 that are part of the audit?
That were part, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And I had a question about the polygraph requirement and understand that there was a merger of 2 different sections and they did not have the same polygraph requirements. How is, in light of this audit, how is the polygraph requirement going to be handled in the future? Are all of the members going to be required to have the polygraph?
No. And actually, I don't know if the captain wants to speak to this, but basically, when they had the merger, they don't test everybody. It's just the people that are going to deal with narcotics and moving into narcotics positions that are the ones that receive the polygraph.
Good morning, Chief. I'm Captain Ahmad Zarakani. I'm Commanding Officer of Gang and Narcotics Division. When the two divisions merged, which was Narcotics Division and Gang Operations Support Division, at that time, Gang side did not have a requirement for polygraph. It was only a narcotics side. So currently, anyone who's assigned to narcotics investigation is polygraphed, but those who are assigned to gang side, which is the units that came from Gang Operations Support Division, they're not required to take a polygraph.
And how often are folks changing over from one assignment to the other?
It's not common, it does happen, but if anyone who wants to move from the gang side to the narcotic side, then they have to submit a polygraph examination.
Okay. Chief, I think this is something we should probably look at and discuss as to what makes sense in terms of why there's a discrepancy between the narcotics side versus the gang side, and whether it makes sense given the ongoing investigations that they've conducted.
Absolutely, we can have a additional discussion on that. I just, citywide, even for our gang officers, polygraph has never been required, and narcotics has always been required. And we're gonna, at this point, that's what we're maintaining, that consistency. In this particular division, you happen to have gang officers and narcotics officers together. I think if there's some bleed over in responsibilities, we need to look at potentially implementing that for these particular officers. But we'll have to see if there are any walls put aside to prevent these gang officers from doing the duties of narcotic officers for the sole purpose of why they were initially required to take polygraphs. And then if we need to adjust or develop a policy to address that, we will.
Yeah, because I could also imagine situations where they have to support each other for search warrants or other things, and so that the unit is there for a reason combined, and therefore we want to make sure that everyone's held to the same standard.
Commissioner, if I can interject. These entities are in separate facilities.
Okay.
They have separate supervisors, and their operations are not intermingling.
Okay.
And the reason the polygraph came to existence, going back to the 1990s, was because the officers who investigated the narcotics, they came in contact with large sums of cash and narcotics. So that's why we implemented the polygraph.
Thank you, and that's helpful information that they're not as commingled even if the units have merged.
Yes.
So thank you for that. I have no other questions. Any other questions?
Can I ask a follow-up?
Of course.
Just really quick for my own understanding. So when they come into the unit for the narcotics officers, when they come into the unit, they get polygraphed.
That's correct.
Okay. And the polygraph is around financial issues, or what would be the rationale for it?
Again, the rationale is because as part of their investigation, routinely, they come in contact with large sums of money, cash, and also large sums of narcotics.
So we're asking them about their financial background or?
Well, I don't think he's the right person to talk about implementation of
the
a polygraph.
rationale is to know that they're trustworthy, that they're not in
Yes,
financial.
it's just like any other polygraph. It'll test the integrity, the honesty, financial things, criminal behavior, all that is discussed during a polygraph.
Okay. All right, that was it.
Okay, thank you. With that, I move that we approve the department's report. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, 4A passes. Thank you all. Thank you for the presentation and report. Moving on to item 4B, the Executive Director's Report relative to revised minimum qualifications for hearing examiners and nomination plan for potential candidates.
Thank you, Commissioner. So this report is in response to a request from the City Council's Public Safety Committee. It's an updated version of a report that was presented to the Commission about 2 months ago, and it reflects input that was received during the discussion in that previous presentation. So in particular, the Public Safety Committee requested a report from the Board of Police Commissioners on ways to expand the pool of qualified candidates for civilian hearing examiners to include, but not be limited to, the following. Adding nominating agencies to include local clergy, civil rights organizations, and the Office of Inspector General. Requiring the inclusion of civilians with diverse experiences and perspectives. Eliminating the criteria requiring years of experience in mediation, arbitration, or similar work. Prohibiting individuals who are current or former employees of local law enforcement agencies from serving as civilian hearing examiners, and requiring and providing training from community-based experts and independent experts on police discipline and oversight for all panelists on issues the board routinely considers, such as excessive force and domestic violence. And so I'll just briefly summarize what actions recommended with respect to each of those requests. So first of all, expansion of outreach for nominations and recruitment of potential hearing examiner candidates. What is proposed is that there would be a recruitment/nominating brochure developed that would be shared widely with an emphasis on recruiting individuals with diverse backgrounds and experiences. That we would work with other City of LA departments, including the Civil and Human Rights and Equity Department, and ensure that the brochure and recruitment extended to their various networks. That we would work with the LAPD's clergy councils to publicize hearing examiner vacancies. That we would work with the department and police commission's existing networks of community leaders to publicize that the position of civilian hearing examiner is open in order to attract applicants, and to direct the Office of the Inspector General to publicize hearing examiner vacancies in the course of its community outreach. Going to the next request, enhanced inclusion of civilians with diverse experiences and perspectives in the hearing examiner pool. So just to talk about the current demographics of our hearing examiner pool. Of our 65 hearing examiners, 58% are male, 42% are female, 66% are white, 22% are black, 9% are Hispanic, and 3% are Asian Pacific Islander. It is anticipated that the enhanced nomination and recruitment measures described in this report would have a positive impact on those demographics in as much as it would make them more reflective of the population of Los Angeles. So to the next point, elimination of criteria requiring years of experience in mediation, arbitration, or similar work. Current minimum qualifications for hearing examiners require that the applicant have at least 2 years' experience in human resources, personnel relations, labor relations, or personnel matters relating to recommending, administrating, adjudicating, or reviewing the administration of discipline. It's vital that hearing examiners have the right skill set in order to effectively perform the role. It's recommended that the 2-year minimum experience requirement that we currently have be upstated to a strong preference, and that candidates, irrespective of whether they have that experience, be required to demonstrate an understanding of the proper application of evidence to policy standards and to organizational requirements in adjudicating employee performance and determining appropriate penalties, so as to ensure that we only hire hearing examiners who have the appropriate skill set for the demands of the role. Next request, the prohibition of individuals who are current or former employees of local law enforcement agencies from serving as hearing examiners. So, based on our current standards, serving peace officers cannot be hired as hearing examiners. If an applicant is a former police officer, at least 5 years must have passed since the separation of that individual from their last employing agency. Of the current pool of hearing examiners, we currently have 6 individuals who have served as peace officers previously in their careers. That group's comprised of 2 black females, 2 black males, 1 white female, and 1 white male. Looking at the outcomes of the boards of rights that have occurred since we went to all civilian boards, we did not discern any difference in the pattern of outcomes from boards that involved those individuals with previous police experience from their peers who do not have such experience. In order for all of the stakeholders to have confidence in the Board of Rights process and for the process to be effective, it's important that that candidates not be biased either for or against the department or for and against officers. And the ability to dispassionately adjudicate cases is really a fundamental attribute that we would require. Singling out former peace officer status as a disqualifying category of professional experience might adversely affect key stakeholders' perceptions of the procedural integrity and the objectivity of our Board of Rights process. Moreover, the experiences that former peace officers can bring to the role includes the familiarity with the detrimental impact of serious misconduct on effective police operation and with the challenges associated with retaining employees found to have committed misconduct that limits their ability to continue to serve as police officers. And it's for these reasons that it's recommended that the current standard governing the employment of former peace officers be maintained, i.e. that we would permit it with the time restrictions that I described earlier. Next request was to establish requirements and provision of training from community-based experts and independent experts on police discipline and oversight for all panelists on issues routinely considered by hearing examiners. And what is proposed is that the Police Commission staff will work with the Office of Inspector General to create a module for hearing examiner training that incorporates input from community-based and independent experts, and that training would include the following: use of force policy and training standards, best practices for community-based policing, education regarding best practices for adjudication of allegations of serious misconduct, including domestic violence, and the impact of retaining officers who have been found guilty by a Board of Rights of allegations involving dishonesty, biased policing, or other conduct that has the potential to compromise their ability to continue to serve as police officers. So that's addressing each of the Public Safety Committee's requests. And then additionally, it's recommended that in order to ensure the continued qualification of individual hearing examiners for service in the role, that appointments be made for 5-year terms and that hearing examiners could be reappointed for additional 5-year terms contingent upon satisfactory performance and successful reapplication for the position upon completion of their previous term. So those are the recommendations, and can answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Sibley. I'll start with Commissioner Kalanche. Do you have any questions?
Just a quick question. Thank you for this. I know this is a really big part of being able to adjudicate a lot of these different cases that we have, and part of our process. I have a question about and I think it's in here, I just want to clarify and be confident in my understanding. The 5-year wait period for former law enforcement, is that part of city law, city practice? Just, yeah, if you could explain.
That's a policy of the Police Commission.
It's a Police Commission policy. Yeah. Got it. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia?
No question. Thank you for the update. We had a long discussion in a previous meeting around this, and happy with the updates. Thank you.
Thank you, and I concur. I don't have any additional questions, so thank you for that updated report. With that, then I move that we approve item 4B and take the actions reflected in the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion passes. So 4B is accepted. We will now recess into closed session to discuss items 5A and 5C. Thank you. 5A through 5C.
The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss items number 5A, 1 and 2, 5B, and 5C in accordance to Government Code 54957.
The commission has returned from closed session, and I'll ask the acting executive director, Mr. Sibley, to please report on items 5A, 5B, and 5C.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item 5A1, officer involved shooting 042-23. At a regular meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners on August 13th, 2024, during the closed session, the board made the following findings by a 3-0 vote. For tactics, tactical debrief, 1 police officer 1 and 1 police officer 2, and administrative disapproval for 1 police officer 2 and 1 police officer 3. For drawing an exhibition of a firearm, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 3, 2 police officers 2 and 1 police officer 1. And for lethal use of force, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 3. Item 5A2 is officer-involved shooting 043-23. The board made the following findings by a 3-0 vote for that case. For tactics, tactical debrief, 1 police officer 3 and 1 police officer 2. For drawing an exhibition of a firearm, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 2 and 1 police officer 3. And for lethal use of force, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 2 and 1 police officer 3. Then moving on to item 5B, the matter was discussed, and for item 5C, the matter was discussed. That concludes the report out.
Thank you so much. And with that, I move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you so much. And the meeting is adjourned.